There is something to be said about Clairo, the internet sensation who has slowly been conquering the world since her 2017 breakout. In light of her most recent release, Charm, putting an end to a 3-year-long hiatus, I thought it best to take a step back and shine a light on her incredible journey as a musician so far. For those of you who live under a rock, and for those who are the most die-hard fans, I present to you Clairo, the story so far. Before cementing herself as the artist that we know today as Clairo, Claire Cottrell, also known as DJ Baby Benz, would get her start in music at the age of 13 by reluctantly posting a cover of a Maroon 5 song to Facebook. This first foray into the world of music would mark a trend in the way she would continue to release music in the future. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, and raised in Carlisle, Massachusetts, she was introduced to the sounds that would define her early life from her parents, with her father being a big fan of Motown and 60s funk, and her mother being more into alternative music like Cocktail Twins. But her first real love in music would be the Shins' Wincing the Night Away. As she said that in hearing this album for the first time would be the first time where she thought about music as something she could do, and her first ever true EP release would be Do You Wanna Fall in Love, in 2014 under her full name, Claire Cottrell. She'd subsequently release a plethora of singles and EPs in 2015 on her Bandcamp, SoundCloud, and YouTube, a few being Aquarius Boy, Growing, and Metal Heart. For the years that were to follow, Clairo, very much inspired by the sounds of Alex G and the then up-and-coming boy band Brockhampton, would continue to upload original songs and covers almost in secret for the little community that she had cultivated across her various platforms. Until one day in the summer of 2017, a little tune that you may or may not have heard of had unexpectedly taken the internet by storm. Written and recorded in only about 2 hours under her brand new name, Clairo, her breakout hit Pretty Girl has since garnered more than 105 million views on YouTube, with its charming DIY appeal and its instant relatability, with the song being about how a person can lose who they truly are by changing themselves for someone else. The traction that she received from this track's virality had shot her directly into the public's eye nearly overnight. This was as well coupled with the coinciding release of Flamin' Hot Cheetos, which had been uploaded not too long prior. This newfound attention as well garnered the curiosity of several major labels such as Capitol, Columbia, RCA, and The Fader, which led to her subsequent signing to the latter in a 12-song recording contract. Everything had begun to move so quickly, but now with the proper label backing, she could finally create the music that she's wanted to create for so long. Music that's meant to be heard, as she's described it. The announcement of her first studio LP titled Diary 001 was followed shortly after this. This in total would be her 12th EP release, following her previous Bandcamp releases, but her first studio EP. Comprised of 6 tracks in total, this EP would be the doorway to Clairo's professional career as a singer-songwriter, with her expanding her horizons as an artist and leaving behind her bedroom pop label well in the past, with this being an immense audio upgrade from her previous releases. Releasing on May 25th, 2018, Diary 001 would feature her 2 previous hits and as well the single Forever, which doubled down on her aesthetics and her commitment to expressing herself as authentically as possible. However, all of this was unfolding at the same time that she was enrolled as a full-time student in Syracuse University, around the same time that she was supposed to be the opening act for worldwide superstar Dua Lipa. After barely scraping by in her economics class and passing with a D, she decided that it would be best to abandon her studies and continue her life on as a recording artist, subsequently joining Dua Lipa on her self-titled tour around the United States. This wouldn't be all, however, as Clairo would then embark on her own summer tour to promote the release of her EP, the Lazy Days Tour, making this 32 dates in total that she had performed over the course of 3 months, both with Dua Lipa and on her solo tour, with certain dates selling out completely, like the Bowery Ballroom in NYC, which is nearly unthinkable for an artist who at this point had only been signed professionally for about a year. This period would be a pivotal moment in her career, as it would set the basis as to what you should expect when you hear a record from Clairo, but it would also leave enough to the imagination that you would be surprised as to what would come next. Following her meteoric rise and subsequent breakout, she would quickly commence work on her debut studio album. Wanting even more to distance herself from her lo-fi beginnings, Clairo would take a much more serious lyrical approach on this album, saying in an interview with Coup de Main that she wrote this album for her 15-year-old self, saying specifically, "To know that I can overcome a lot of the struggles that I've had with depression, the fact that I can overcome my insecurity and my fear of vocalizing my sexuality. In a way, this album is really for me, but it's really for everyone else as well. It's just as much for me as it is for everyone else. When they hear it, I'm going to listen to it too, and I'll be reminded of the strength that I can find in music." And this is heard evidently from the moment the album begins with the opener track, Alewife, which details Clairo's struggles with depression and how an intervention from a dear friend stopped her from taking her own life. This album, Immunity, was released the 24th of May 2019 and would mark yet another evolution in the young artist's career, proving with full certainty that Clairo's strengths were in her ability to write deeply touching and painfully relatable anthems like Impossible, while simultaneously producing chart-topping bangers like Bags and Sophia, the latter being a track that openly speaks about her bisexuality. We wouldn't see any music video releases with this album, nor any heavy promotional material, only a brief media run to push the album's release, which further cemented the fact that she didn't need huge album rollouts to be successful. She had carved a fan base and community that would support her every release vigorously. Co-produced by Rostam of X-Vampire Weekend, this album would once more catapult Clairo further into the musical sphere, with us seeing her debut TV performance during this era, and as well joining Khalid as an opener on his Free Spirit World Tour, before once again embarking on her own solo tour, which was supported by Biba Doobie and Hello Yellow. We would see an immense growth in Clairo's artistry during this period, with her experimenting with a much more deep and diverse soundscape, all the while retaining all of the elements that make her sound so unique and enticing. The lush instrumentation, her soft vocals that flow gently over the production, and her ability to transform universal experiences into relatable tracks that resonate so deeply with her audience. But this non-stop touring and performing was finally starting to take its effect. Clairo felt she needed to take a break and step away from this life that only seemed to keep augmenting in speed. And soon enough, it was 2020. She, along with everyone else, would be forced to take a break. During her quarantine period, which she said she spent with her family in Atlanta, she contemplated many things. And there was one question in particular that shot around her mind frequently, and that was the question of maternity. She revealed in an interview with Rolling Stone that she, for the first time in her life, thought about the fact that she may be a mother one day, a theme that would be omnipresent on her then unannounced new album. Retreating to the secluded All Air Studios in upstate New York to record this new record, Clairo collaborated with Jack Antonoff, after initially declining his offer to work with her. She embraced a more mellow, folk-inspired sound that diverged from her previous releases. Out of 200 songs written, track 13, Reaper, was the first to be finalized for the album. Sling, her third release, reveals a Clairo who was miles more profound and introspective than ever before. Slower paced and deeply reflective, she addresses the many challenges she's faced since her sudden rise to fame. On Blouse, she confronts the sexualization she endures as a woman in the music industry. On Just For Today, it's the fears that she was causing others and to herself whilst on tour. And on Zinnius, her temptations to abandon everything and live a quiet life. This record changed everything for me, because I was fully going to quit music, she said in an interview with Rolling Stone, and it's evident when you listen to this body of work. You can hear each and every frustration that she's faced, the anxieties, the uncertainty. But overall as well, you can hear the maturity that rings through on each and every second on this album. Arguably her deepest record to date, Sling represents a landmark moment for Clairo, showing her to be beyond doubt an artist that is unafraid to evolve, no matter how difficult it may be. The Sling tour was soon to follow in early 2022 and terminated in April of the same year, and we wouldn't see too much musical activity from Clairo until the release of a live EP, Live at Electric Lady, in 2023. It wouldn't be until January of this year that we would finally get an update as to what Clairo had been working on in her hiatus period. After having focused so intensely on an album that is so serious, Clairo felt it necessary to take a step back and concentrate more on a subject matter that she'd barely touched on in her previous works. The name of this album, Charm, Clairo says, is the moment when two people meet and they have separate life experiences, all their own stories and feelings, and then they tell each other the first layer. I'm from blank and I do blank. There's this beautiful haze and buzz when you're still imagining the rest of it. That feeling is so good. This album was led by the release of the single Sexy to Someone, which from the moment it begins screams sensual confidence, with its lucid bass line, woodwind accents, and shining piano backing. A notable departure from the drawn-back folk-inspired acoustics of Sling, with production from Leon Mitchell's the head behind Big Crown Records. Charm would see its release on July 12th of this year. It is an amazing follow-up with a beautiful 70s luster that sees Clairo embrace her wildest ideas with full confidence and bravado, with Leon Mitchell's even saying, there was a recurring theme throughout the recording process where Claire would say, it's not weird enough, and detailing that they bonded over the fact that they both love records where there's something kind of off about them. One of the primary themes that she writes about on this album is that first initial love or infatuation, adding that it was an interesting concept for me. To write songs that felt like I only had a part of the information, and then a lot of yearning, a lot of making up the rest in my head. And each track taking a different look on how these feelings manifest, like on Second Nature, where she describes how your focus is so easily shattered when you're near that one person, or on Thank You, where she knew from the start that a situation wouldn't work, but still commits with full yield. It's an intricately woven record with beautiful orchestration and gorgeous lyricism. We would also see the first music video release from Clairo in 6 years with the song Juna, a track where she ponders if she's being too intimate with a partner, but ultimately decides to go all in anyways. Since her beginnings in 2014 with her independent bedroom recordings, there has always been a unique allure in the sound of Clairo. She's always had her own personal style that's fully her own, and we've had the chance of a lifetime to watch the growth and development of her as an artist in real time. From the soft synths and indie guitar backings of Immunity, all the way to the gold-plated and shiny 1970s love letter that is Charm, each release has been a treasure and an absolute gift to every music listener, and I'm excited to see what the future has in store for one of the 21st century's most interesting songwriters. Thank you once again for making it to the end of one of my videos. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed, and why not subscribe if you'd like to see more in the future? It means the world to me that you guys enjoy these little mini docs, and I'd like to keep producing them, but I am merely a one-man team working on these, so any and all support does really go a long way. That's all, hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next one. Peace.